computer. Okay. We'll wait a few minutes for the attendees to populate. All right. I would like to welcome everyone to the meeting of the Steamship Authority's Woods Hole Falmouth Noise and Traffic Mitigation Working Group meeting. This is Wednesday, September 29th of 2021, and it's 4 o'clock, just shortly thereafter. I'd like to inform everyone that the Steamship Authority is making an audio and video recording of today's meeting, and I have remembered to turn that on. And is there anyone else making a recording of today's meeting? If so, please identify yourself by pressing the raise your hand icon, or if you are joining by phone, pressing *9 on your keypad. And when you're recognized, please state your name for the record. And there's someone in the chat thinking it may be, okay, Nat will be on in another 1 to 2 minutes. Okay. I don't see anyone else raising hands, so I'm assuming no one else is making a recording. In accordance with Section 20 of Chapter 20 of the Acts of 2021, all working group members are participating remotely in today's meeting by the Zoom video conferencing app, and all members hopefully will be clearly audible to each other. Also pursuant to that statute, the SSA has ensured public access to the deliberations of the working group today for interested members of the public via Zoom. And the link to access this meeting via Zoom has been provided in the meeting notice for today's meeting. Welcome, everyone. And Doug Jones has astutely avoided the preliminary formalities and is joining us now. So everyone is here. I'd also like to thank James McLaughlin and Peter McCartney of the town of Falmouth for joining us here today. As I mentioned at the last meeting, I did not have a chance to finish the minutes of the August 25th meeting, so unfortunately we're going to have to pass that by. And we will go directly into the second item of the agenda. The working group's request that the town of Falmouth investigate the possibility of installing electronic speed feedback signs along the state highway to Woods Hole. At the last meeting, the working group authorized me to send an email, which I will share with the working group at this time. Sorry, I hit the wrong screen, wrong button. And it was to let Mr. Suso know that of our support for the electronic speed feedback signs, and that we concluded that they were effective means to reduce speed and noise issues there, but that we have no funds as a working group to provide for their installation. And rather, after having identified this promising noise and speed mitigation measure, we hope that the town will move forward in investigating what it would take to install these signs. And if the town wants to request financial support for this endeavor from the Steamship Authority, that it would be a matter for the town and the SSA to discuss. I did send that email out on Friday, August 27th, and Julian Suso thanked me for it the same day. I don't have anything more to report. I'm wondering, Peter or Jim, whether you could update us on the status of the project, if there is any update.
Yeah, so I met with the town manager and the police chief a couple of weeks back to discuss this, and I think what needs to happen is we need to look at the locations of where they'll be installed. So what we've done in the past, the procedure we've followed in the past is we will work with the police department. The chair of the traffic advisory committee is Officer James Porter. So James Porter, I got to reach back out to the chief and to the traffic advisory, but they're looking at putting some speed detections on Woods Hole Road to see where the best place to put some signs are. So we'll go through the traffic advisory committee just to let them know that, you know, everything that happens in Falmouth, we want to let them know, even though it's a state road. And then we'll be working with the chief and officer and the traffic advisory and Officer Porter on the locations, and then we can work with the getting some forms together and reaching out to the state. So this being a state road, we've installed these on some town roads. It's much easier. Being a state road, you got to get a highway access permit, and you need to submit plans and traffic management plans, and they get a bite at the apple. It goes through different departments at District 5, so it's a longer process. But that's something I'll be able to work with town engineer Jim McLaughlin on to see about get that started. We will need to do some surveys of the area to get the locations of it. So that's something we can work on. But this is just to let everyone know, this is not something that's going to take a month or a month and a half. The last time when we put the lights at Locust Street at Town Council, it took a couple of years to get that in. But I think, you know, there was some going back and forth between the state and the town. And a couple of people from the state retired, so it wouldn't be something like that. But I believe Jim, our town engineer, just went through a process up over on Palmer Ave, and we're almost in the same time period. So we can start working on this and moving forward with this, but being on state time also, we're going to have to coordinate with them. So it's also my understanding, I believe that there's the petitioner's article to go to town meeting for the funding for these. There's a petitioner that's putting in funding to get these driver feedback signs. So I don't know if that's something we can work on. I believe the finance committee is working with the petitioners and going to be meeting with the petitioners to go over it. I don't have a problem, and I don't think engineering does not have a problem with putting these in. But just one other item is that we drove Woods Hole Road a few weeks back when we were looking at these areas for the speed limits, for the speed signs. And there's a couple of speed limit signs on Woods Hole Road that are not the same in the northbound and the southbound direction. For instance, one area is at the town council's office where the bikeway crossing is. The speed limits in the southbound lane and the northbound lane are not the same. So I think we're going to look to reach out to the state to see if we can align those signs together. So it'll be more it'll be more for legit wise for the state that they have the same speed limits on the same section.
Your attention, please. Will the driver of a gray Audi?
Steve, can you mute yourself for a second?
Yes, sir.
Thank you. Steve is vigilant and he's on the boat.
So that's just something that we can reach out to the state. We'll do anyways. We'll reach out to there and see if we can move back the speed limit signs. We did that up by Goodwill Park about a year and a half ago, and the state was able to do that and adjust the signs. So at least we have the same speed limits on the same area of roadway. I think one of them was 25 miles an hour on the southbound, and the northbound was 35 or something for a section of roadway. So we just want to align them up.
Peter, that sounds terrific. We
Thank
knew
you.
it's going to be a long process, so you told us that before, and we're just happy that you're getting it started.
Peter, I thought I understood from Julian that the DPW was going to put these signs in your budget and it actually wouldn't need to go through the petitioner. Is that what the current intention is, or are you going to make it go to petitioner to get the funding from the embarkation fees?
The last I heard of it, Doug, is I think the original intention is we were going to put it through town meeting under one of our budgets.
Right.
And then a petitioner's article came in. So I think the finance committee was working with the petitioner on the article for that. So,
well, it'd be cleaner to just have it under the DPW and have the petitioners withdraw their article from a financial point of view. But and that's sort of what I indicated to the petitioners is from Julian, I had understood that you were going to fund it within the DPW budget already, but
yeah, so it's something that it's not a large project to put these in. It's not that we have to go out and hire our consultants to do this or whatever. It's just, I think it's something we can do in-house. So we'll go, Public Works will install them when the time comes. We will be putting them up. They'll be solar powered. We've done many of them already. So, but
I just think as a town president, I think we'd be way better off having you guys say, we got to take handled, you don't need petitioners coming forward with these articles. Otherwise, you're going to be opening up the door for everyone to say, okay, I guess the only way we can get funded is to do a petitioner. When really the right way to do it was to go to the DPW and say, hey, are you guys willing to do this? My understanding is you guys are, and so it would just be covered that way. And we could then IP the petitioner article because it would be funded within the town budget. But anyway, it's not really for this meeting to discuss.
Mike,
Yeah, we
did you
can-
want to say something?
Yeah, I just had a quick, excuse me, I just had a quick question for Peter. So have you considered bringing this to the Cape Cod Commission to try to possibly get transportation improvement program funds for this, where the only cost to the municipality would be the cost of the design?
Yeah, I mean, that's something you could do, but so what happens is the way that the transportation, the Joint Transportation Committee set up is they have their 5-year plan. So everything's set up in a spreadsheet, so they already know what they're doing for the next 5 years. And for the cost of this and for a project this size, I think it would be better for it just to go through the town. Those projects are usually, roadway projects or bridge projects or some of the bigger projects. So I think for what we're looking at, I think we're looking at, 4 signs or what have you on the roadway. I think the cost of it is something that we can do in-house. If we waited for the commission, then you have to wait till someone gets bumped and then. it has
Yeah,
to
no,
be
I
put
agree.
on, so.
No, I think that's great. I think that, no, if you guys can handle that in-house, that's great. I just wanted to see, I just wanted to ask if that was a consideration. Sorry.
Yeah, I think one way or another, I mean, either through the petition or through Public Works, I can follow up with it with the town manager to see what happens. I believe when this started about a month ago, Steve, I think when the emails were going back and forth with the town manager, the intention was that we were going to look at it and put it under the DPW, but then since then, a petitioner's article came in and there's been more further discussion on it. So, and the finance committee is going to be meeting with the petitioner, I believe. If they haven't done so, it's going to be in the coming week, but we
Monday
can
evening.
follow up further on it.
Okay. Oh, that sounds great.
May I ask what happens with the embarkation fee for Falmouth? Wouldn't that pay for this?
Steve, that's something that I've been hearing a lot about it in the last few months. Don't really know too much about it, but I've been hearing a lot about it. That's more of a question for town manager's office, finance director, where the funds will come out of.
And Steve, I think that's beyond our pay rate here. We're trying to stay out of those funding issues and just try to make recommendations on measures that we think will help mitigate traffic and noise. We talked about that before. I think the petition that was submitted was to use the funds in the embarkation fee thing, but really, I think that's beyond our jurisdiction. No offense. I hope you don't take any offense at that.
No stress.
Okay.
I do hope Steve Aruja will weigh in when it comes time to citing the speed signs. I don't know how that's done, but I already know there's strong opinions on parts of Woods Hole Road about it. And I would think, someone who drives it every day should have a big say or would have good recommendations.
Yeah, I think, so we'll go through, I'm talking as when I say it's myself and Jim, town engineer, he'll be kind of running with this, but it would be, we'll work with the police department, we'll work with the traffic advisory. If there are areas on Woods Hole Road or residents on Woods Hole Road that oppose and they do not want signs in front of their residents or houses, we would need to know that, absolutely so, because we don't want to be taking anybody off on Woods Hole Road.
All right. Anything else? Going on to the next one, the update on the Steamship Authority's enforcement of our policy against early arrivals of early morning freight trucks, as well as the enforcement of its other noise mitigation measures. Let me share my screen again. And as you know, Allison sends out emails. Let me try to reduce this. Whenever a truck arrives earlier than the allowed time, they're allowed to arrive at 5:10 in the morning for the 5:30 trip, 5:30 in the morning for the 6 o'clock trip, and 6 o'clock in the morning for the 6:30 and 6:45 trips that we have in the summer, and 6:15 in the morning for the 7 o'clock trip during the summer. As of this month, that 6:15 arrival time for the 7 o'clock trip goes back to 6:30. But we review these every day, and the ones that we determined did arrive early, Allison sends an email out to. I've gone through them, and this is how many we've had for those trips during the month of August. Our last meeting was August 25th. So for the 5:30 trip, let me reduce this even more so you can see it all. I think it's somewhat small, but for the 5:30 trip, there were 2 trucks that month that were early. Out of the total of 56 trucks, 3, 4, and 5 space trucks that were carried. So that was a compliance rate of 96.4%. Most of these trucks on the 5:30 trip are only 2 space trucks. That's under 35 feet. And so if you include the number of 2 space trucks that were carried on that 5:30 trip, which was another 249 trucks, the compliance rate for the 5:30 trip was 99.3%, which is getting close to what we want, which is 100. The other trips, there were a few earlies on the 6 o'clock trip that arrived before 5:30. There were 3 of those trucks. Given the number of trucks carried on the 6 o'clock trip, the compliance rate was almost 98%. The 6:30 and 6:45 trips, for some reason, they just want to keep on arriving a little bit earlier. 9 trucks arrived early for those trips. That's still a compliance rate of 96.6%. And the all the ones on the 7 o'clock trip arrived no earlier than allowed, primarily because of the 6:15 arrival time. So with respect to how early these trucks arrived, we also keep track of that now. For the most part, they arrived only a few minutes early. And it could be part of a difference in their timing or their clock or their watch. We give them a 1-minute grace period, but no more than a minute. And so you'll see that 10 out of the trucks arrived less than 5 minutes, 5 minutes less. The one who arrived 21 minutes early on the 5:30 a.m. trip, we think that was a new one because he arrived so early. He was sent away, I believe, Allison. This is the one that may have been sent away and then came back. We always have
Yeah,
a
I believe there were 2 that we sent away and they came back.
Okay, so then we're talking about another one in September that may have happened. The second.
Right.
And it's always a decision that the terminal people have to make when someone does arrive early, because when they send them away and then they come back, they just generate more noise and more traffic. And so we leave that to the discretion of the terminal people. Our goal is to try to get no one to arrive early.
If I could make 2 comments. One is when I go down at 5, 10 or earlier, there seems to be a gray area of what's a truck. And there's some pretty big vehicles. One that has a tank and pipe, septic. I don't know what it was, cesspool type, vehicles. The flatbed, I think it was a tow truck, basically a flatbed tow truck. Some of these vehicles are, they're there at 5 basically because I guess they're not coming in under your truck's rule.
Well, those are considered most likely 1 space over heights, so they fall under the regular standard size vehicles. And those usually do not fall under the bulk program, which is where majority of these people fall under.
I see.
But-
So this is
but the list-
defined by bulk. So I would define it also by, size and length. I don't know about I have a couple pictures. The flatbed tow truck happened to be empty, which was good, so it wasn't too heavy, but it felt like a truck to me. And I'm thinking, how come there are trucks down here? I see these reports once a month.
Was it orange and white?
It was dark.
Because there is one that does come down frequently, but he has also had reservations on the 5:30. Because he,
Well, I don't doubt these people have had reservations, but they're getting there, and they're not. They seem not to be part of the 5-10 rule.
Okay, we will look into that. The lists that we see do include the types of trucks that you're describing. The lists do not omit anyone just because they are not on the bulk freight reservation list.
Well,
And
check it
so-
out. And I guess my second point, are you still not able to share any video? I mean, it's kind of a pain to go down there when I hear noise. I mean, I don't understand the big state secret.
Well,
Still,
it's not Allison's or my decision. It is something that we have to refer to Terrence Keneally, General Counsel, and also our security people.
well, maybe we could talk because
That's
I
not
I
our
would be
decision.
even more convinced by these numbers if I could, when I hear huge noises, connect them with.
I would appreciate you though, Nat, sending me these pictures of vehicles that are down there early.
Okay, sure, yeah.
That way I
Yeah, I
can
mean,
at
they pull
least
up,
try to
they
identify.
pull up, the reason they stick out is because they pull up where the trucks arrive and pull it. They don't go in with the regular cars. They, I mean, they're kind of in the truck section. Is that another way I define that?
Matt, do you not trust the numbers we're providing?
No, these numbers, I don't think these numbers include those two vehicles I saw the other day that seem to be truck-like vehicles. Do you?
Well, I wasn't there. You were there, but the size limit is 40 feet and less, right?
Well,
Uh,
they're-
feet or
no,
less for the 5:30 departure.
I mean, there are
Right.
tons of, there are cars that are arriving. I'm just trying to get a sense. I mean, these numbers reflect trucks that are arriving before 5:10, and I go down there at 5 a.m. and there are a couple truck-like vehicles there. So to me, it's like, well, what are these numbers showing then? If
Well, what
they're-
do you consider a truck-like vehicle? A Ford F-350?
No, a
A
flat
van?
tow truck and a truck with a big tank on it, to me, feels like, but I don't want to spend a lot of time on this, but
But please send me those
That's not-
pictures, Nat, so I can look into it farther.
okay.
About those, I
It's
don't know what
dark,
you're
but
talking about.
we've got, you know.
But, that would be good to know whether, because our reports do include those types of trucks that you're describing. It may be, if you know the specific date that you were there, then you can check this and we can check the list and see what the issue is. Because we want to make certain that these are accurate. And if there's if for some reason we aren't getting all the trucks that are arriving, we want to know that and correct that.
I mean,
And just so you do realize, there is one tank truck that will show up there very early, a couple days a week, because that's the one that's fueling the governor, because the governor
Oh,
can't
yeah,
go the normal way of the other trucks, I mean, boats.
got that, yeah. Yeah,
Okay.
it's just this gray area of what's a truck and, I have no
But
doubt whoever's counting.
that's a good topic. What is a truck to you?
Well, both of these vehicles had to be over 25 feet or so.
But in general, I mean, I've seen stuff in the press where you're quoting 600 trucks a day.
No, I would never say that. Up to 600 trucks a day on a summer weekday. That's my statement.
Well, that's your
That
statement.
is accurate, huh?
No, I'm not saying it's accurate, no. 600 trucks, what qualifies as a truck, Matt? I'm serious. I'd like to know because these numbers are being touted all over the county. And, you know, they're not consistent with the numbers that the Steamship Authority has boarding vessels in Woods Hole. So what do you think is a truck and what do you think is the number of trucks aboard a vessel in Woods Hole?
Well, I'm happy to discuss this.
I think it's very important.
Okay, so when I look at the daily capacity reports, we, for the 62 trips on summer weekdays, there is a category that the steamship defines as trucks. And I count up to, on some weekdays, there are as many as 600 steamship defined trucks.
And that also includes pickup trucks
Vans.
and vans, anything over 19 feet will unfortunately get put into that category.
Well, I try to be very careful and call it a steamship defined truck, which it's difficult. I mean, it's unfortunate that steamship probably calls them all trucks. I don't know what the thinking is behind that.
No, they don't. They don't.
They do, Allison said that's what they do. They said
No,
they,
well, we break them into two different categories.
I guess I misheard Allison. I was sworn she just said vans and pickup trucks, they count as trucks.
Well,
This is
I
how-
think she was asking that if he's including vans and pickup trucks.
John, I do think that our capacity utilization reports, and we can
Yep.
check this out, do categorize our category for one space trucks do include vans and pickup trucks. And if Nat is referring to the one space trucks included in the number of trucks carried back and forth, then he, because of our classification, is also including pickup trucks and vans.
All right,
You
so
guys
I'll
go
just
by
raise, I'll
length.
just raise a point that if you want to go that route, then I've got the numbers for this year, the first 8 months of the year. Trucks less than 40 feet, there was 5,000 trucks a month on average for the entire year. You do the math, that's 166 trucks for the vessel in Woods Hole. And let's assume they come back. That's 330 trucks a day. That's not anywhere near 600. So you're counting
Oh,
of that
totally,
600.
yeah,
Let me just finish. You guys have had the floor all year. If you count those trucks that are coming back and forth, that's half of the number that you're quoting in the press. And I think you have to be careful when you start touting the problems, is that we keep the facts accurate, because you can't count a van, you can't count a pickup truck. Half the people on this island own pickup trucks. You
Those
can't
aren't
count
even
a truck
considered
that-
trucks, yeah.
I mean,
The
there's,
steamship are the ones who are calling them trucks, not Nat.
They
no,
do.
no, I'm just trying to help you guys though, so you all understand, because
Correct.
if I lived in Falmouth, I would think that a pickup truck is the same, you just have to make sure we're all talking on the same wavelength. And I think there's, like for instance, if you have a truck, a minivan delivering flowers, or you have a FedEx truck that's a little minivan, that could be called a truck, yes, but it's really not a freight truck.
Correct. That's
Yeah,
correct.
and
Yeah,
these
on the
trucks are not coming
FHWA
down.
classification scheme, that's correct. Yep.
Right. So I really implore you to make sure that when you're out there talking to the people out there, is that you make that distinction.
Well, point well taken. I do try to be very careful and say steamship authority defined trucks
I've
can.
never
I
seen you
think
say
what-
that in the press, never.
I think what John's trying to say too is that most of the general public does not understand what the steamship authority identifies as a truck. And they're thinking, because of the way it's being presented, that a truck is something big. A truck is something huge. So maybe he's saying, make a disclaimer that this can include pickup trucks. That way it sounds more, then it is more accurate. Because
Why is the steamship using this
Trucks.
definition?
Well,
What was that?
I was just about to mention that. My memory, and of course, this is why I retired, because my memory is getting worse as I get older. My memory is that the Steamship Authority used to include those pickup trucks into cars, but they all require commercial plated licenses. So
back
they're
in the day.
plates. And ultimately, around 2008, 2009, we reclassified them from automobiles to trucks, because we kept all trucks are essentially commercial plated vehicles, and automobiles are non-commercial plated vehicles. I think that's correct, Allison. I'm not sure.
That's how it used to be. It used to be if you had a pickup truck, you had to have a commercial plate. But that's been removed. Now you
Right.
can have a pickup truck with a standard license plate on it.
But that's how we initially
Jeez.
went.
Oh, wow. I didn't know that.
Yeah, and that never changed with how we classify things, never changed with the state.
Okay. But that was the reason for the change back in 2009 or so.
Well, just one other point. So again, we do try to be careful. It's weekdays in the summer, up to 600 steamship authority defined trucks. Saying they're 300 is taking an average of January weekends.
August.
I mean, I don't think you'd want to be using averages throughout the year either, because what's causing the trouble are those weekday trucks where the numbers are huge. I'd still characterize them as huge.
Let me ask you another question about numbers while I got your attention. In the month of August, how many trucks less than 40 feet boarded a vessel in Woods Hole on the 5:30 boat?
I will answer that question because we
Well,
keep,
all of the, all of the,
I mean, there were.
all of the trucks, you're not allowed anything over 40 feet. I'm
No,
not
well,
sure.
do you know what the number was? It was 10 on average. Just so you know. I mean, you know, so we're not talking about freight trucks coming down. And we're not talking about a large amount. On average, during the peak of the summer, 10 trucks got on the boat at the 5:30.
Boy, that means those 10 trucks could go to 6 o'clock and not really affect all that much on the vineyard.
You want to say that to anybody who's involved with free enterprise? Who needs their food, who needs their flowers, who needs their, you know,
It's only-
supplies?
It's
So
on
do you
average,
want to
only-
restrict trucks in Falmouth so they can't be delivered in the morning?
on average, it's only 10 trucks. It's not a lot, you just said, John.
It is a lot though for people that live here.
Actually, we couldn't fit 10 trucks on the 10 more trucks per day on a 6 o'clock trip.
And it is a lot of trucks going through the town, the village of Woods Hole at that time of the morning also. I mean, you keep thinking it's not a lot of trucks. Now it's a lot of trucks. You keep going back and forth on it's.
I'm not going back and forth. I'm saying to the facts.
So in 2018, there were 6 additional trips added. You went from 26 trips, 28 trips, round trips a day to 31 round trips. I mean, to me, harping on 10 trucks seems kind of like a minor point compared to the amount of growth that's taken place on the route overall. There are now 62 trips in the summer.
But we've added no additional trips since 2018.
Well, that's one way of looking at it.
Well, that is.
2018 seems like yesterday to me.
Okay. All right, I'm
I
gonna.
guess I just didn't quite follow, John. So you're saying that's a lot or a little,
But
the 10 trucks?
I'm saying that's a small amount for you to be aggravated over at 5:30 in the morning.
So have you read the letters?
Well, I've read a lot of letters. I mean, I'm
You
scared.
know,
to
John
get a-
lives right closer
Let me,
than you
let
do.
me
to
finish
this
here.
station
I've
from
read
his-
letters that I'm scared to go get a popover at pie in the sky because I might get dementia. I mean, I'm really getting to the point where this whole process of a working group is frustrating. I can't go to Quixhole to have a bowl of chowder because I might forget that I have to get on a boat because I might have dementia. I mean, this is getting to the point now where it's getting ridiculous. This is supposed to be a working group. We work together, and you go out there and publish articles that are contrary to what the facts are. And then
Wait a minute, which
start
facts?
spreading fear in people's hearts and minds about things that you might think are important to you. And you're part of this group. As part of this working group, you should be working with us and not against us.
Well, I've not missed a meeting. I've been at every meeting. I contribute to the agenda. My activities beyond this working group, I don't think are dictated by this working group's activity.
No, but it's
And
common courtesy, wouldn't it
John, I
be?
would also challenge, I mean, if you could find specific quotes where I've misrepresented something, please point that out, because that is not our mission.
Specific quotes?
Yes.
Well, it's really more the absence of what you're not saying.
Such as?
Well, I have a good one for you because I've got a lot. I have a list here if you have the time. When the Boston Globe contacted you, I assume they contacted you, or did you contact the Boston Globe?
I don't think the Globe takes my calls.
Okay, so when the Globe contacted you, did you ask them or did you mention to them that you're part of this working group to solve these problems?
I have no idea. But I can
well,
tell you, this is not,
All right, well, we don't
participation in
know.
this group is not one of my central activities. And
All right, well, my other question I have for you is, did you mention to this group that you would also, not once, but twice, try to stop traffic, commercial traffic in the town of Falmouth? Did you mention that to anybody on this call?
wait, let's slow down.
That's a yes or no.
So that's inaccurate. To say that I'm trying to stop commercial activity. Wait, let's be a little more nuanced here. what type of
All right, well,
commercial
however you want to
activity?
phrase it, you want to close the roads.
Well, that's even less nuanced. So have you read the citizens petition article?
Yes.
And is that what it says?
Well, why don't you tell me what it says? And my point here is not the details, it's, did you share that you're going to go forward and try to close the roads with this group? Because we're trying to work together, it's called a working group to mitigate. But yet you're this maverick out there that goes off and does your own thing. It's very hard to follow you around. And I tell you what, yeah, I don't know how the other guys feel, and please, speak up. It's frustrating. I thought I'm working with you, and yet you go off and try to close roads. And I would say that you misstate numbers to your favor. And, I got a whole other list of questions here if we have the time. But I'd like an answer. Did you tell this group that you're going to try to close the roads in Falmouth? Commercial traffic in the morning? That's a yes or no.
I would never say that, because that is not what the citizens petition article asked for.
Did you mention the petition then to this working group?
When would I have mentioned that? The petition was submitted on September 3rd, if I'm not mistaken.
Well, it's not what just pop up that day. We were together in August, we were together in July.
The petition, I think, came after our last meeting. It's a petition I've signed also. It's looking to create quiet districts in the town of Falmouth.
We've
I
already,
will say, John, I before we submitted that petition, I did ask Bob Davis if he was going ahead with a 5:30 schedule. And when he said, I don't know, I would happily have withdrawn that, but
well, this is the second time. There was a time before where you tried to close the roads.
No, I did.
well,
Yeah, well, did
closing-
you, then, all right, maybe I was mistaken, Doug, did you bring that idea that you had to this working group as something that you're going to try to do? My point is, it's called a working group, and I don't know how Steve feels or Mike feels. I don't feel we're a group. It's frustrating to work with you guys when you're going off us doing your own things.
We're trying every avenue we have. We've tried to ask the steamship authority over and over again to cancel the 5:30 freight boat, and no matter what we do, they don't listen. And so we're trying other avenues also.
Let me ask you a question. If they cancel the 5:30, that would mean they'd have to put a boat at the end of the day to
No,
take up for the traffic.
there's space in the middle of the day where it could fit. And we said that at our last meeting. It was agreed by everybody here. There is a space where there is a gap in the middle of the day where it could go.
I understand, but there's allocation problems with the steamship and the way they load the boats. And as a trucker, as someone who does the trucking, you just can't make a boat in the middle of the day sometimes. We set up our reservations 6 months in advance just to try to get our work done. We're not trying to, we've tried to work with the people of Falmouth. I've talked to all the drivers. I've asked them to slow down, leave the Jake brakes off, and try to work with you guys. But Nat, I'm telling you, please do not sneak up on the driver. Do not do your stealth moves, because it's not healthy for anybody.
Okay, may I just interject here? I've let this discussion go on. I don't know how to control it, frankly, but I'm going to ask. I think everyone has said a little bit of their piece. I think we all know where each other stands on this. And I would like, hopefully, to get back to the mission of this working group and hopefully work together on that. This group is not in charge of the scheduling of the impacts of the amount of traffic. What we're trying to do is mitigate that impact. The long-term solutions are going to be discussed on a long-term basis with the task force and with the board and with other groups. And let's just focus on what the mission of this group is. If I can ask you just to do that for the moment. I think it
I
was.
have one final comment, Steve, if you don't mind. It's
Okay.
important to me, and I think it's important to everyone else on this call. I've participated in this for this group for the last year, and I've done a lot of work and a lot of homework. I've asked a lot of questions, not only people here, but also people on the island. I've talked to people in Falmouth. And my question for this group, is anyone else in this group aware of any other noise and mitigation problems that have risen in Hyannis, Nantucket, Vineyard Haven, or Oak Bluffs? Do we have any other ports that have these same kind of problems?
None.
I have not heard any, but I want to give that as an opportunity to Nat, to Doug, Allison.
I think
Steve.
that, I think the villages that we're talking about are very different. I think Hyannis is very different village than Woods Hole is. I think
No,
even,
it's not. It's a lot of trucks, a lot of traffic. I've worked down on that pier. There's really a
I'm
lot
not
of.
saying the traffic, I'm not saying the traffic is different. I'm saying the village that it's going through. The resident,
It's more of a city,
right?
right?
Hyannis, is much more of a city than
Yep.
Woods Hole. So it is
But
more
still,
appropriate.
with a bigger population in that area, there's no complaints. And then second, let me just say, all
Because
those
it's more
trucks
residential.
board in Woods Hole, they get off in Vineyard Haven or Oak Bluffs, same amount of trucks, and then they get back on. We have a 5:30 boat in Vineyard Haven. And,
You don't have any-
and let me finish. No one, Doug, I don't smile and laugh when you talk.
I'm not laughing at you.
You are.
I'm trying not to be.
Vineyard Haven has a 5:30 boat, and all the boats at the 5:30 Woods Hole come off the boat onto Vineyard Haven. No one in Vineyard Haven complains about the noise or the traffic.
Are there
No one in
any,
Oak Bluffs complains about the noise, the traffic. So this is an isolated group.
are there any small residences right near the Vineyard Haven Steamship Authority?
I live there, 3 blocks away.
Okay,
And you know what? Here's the difference between myself and some of the others on this group. I live on a very busy street. There's a Sid Wainer truck that parks their truck, right outside of my bedroom every morning in the summer. It used to bother me until I thought of the fact that this woman that owns a catering business has to put her kids through college. This is how she makes her money. And she's got 6-8 weeks to do it. So I don't complain anymore. I'm glad that Sid Wainer truck pulls up in front of her house. That's the difference. But more importantly is no one in that whole community has ever raised any big concerns. So I just will close out by saying I enjoy working with you guys, but we got to be a working group. And more importantly is stick to the facts and realize that this is an isolated situation in Woods Hole. It doesn't exist in Vineyard Haven, Oak Bluffs, Hyannis, Nantucket. Thank you, Steve.
John, I have heard board member Jones refer to impacts, problems in Hyannis. I would check with them.
Not to this level, Matt. They're not trying to close roads. They don't inflate numbers.
God, I do have to object to your characterization as closing roads. What we're asking for is quiet hours from 11 p.m. to 6 a.m. for trucks. That is not closing roads. We don't object to cars on a 5:30 ferry. It's truck noise that's keeping us up.
All right, I'm gonna let Nat have the Nat
Nat,
word on that one. And
Nat, if you're walking down to the boat at 5:10, you're awake.
I sure am. I can tell you why.
If you're walking from your house and you're down the boat at 5:10, you have to be up before the trucks arrive.
Yeah, I set my alarms on Saturday to go see what's happening. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
okay,
hey, John, can I just add, I really apologize if the way I'm looking, it feels like I'm laughing at you. I really appreciate the work you're doing, and I sincerely apologize if I'm giving an impression that I am in any way diminishing what you're saying, because I do appreciate all the work you're doing. And the last thing I want you to have to is think I'm minimizing or mocking or doing that, because that just isn't who I am. So I do apologize if it came across that way.
Well, you know what would be helpful if you guys, Doug and Nat, since you're really big on the numbers, is that maybe you want to look at the numbers of trucks, commercial trucks that visit Woods Hole that go to other locations. See what that number is.
It's
Because
huge.
there's trucks that go to the post office, go to the entities, the businesses, the restaurants. There's refuse trucks that go into Woods Hole. And you can, if you want, you can only count trucks that are greater than 20 feet.
Yeah, we looked
Just
at this a year ago. Remember the slides I showed? We looked at the share of vineyard trucks carried on the steamship in comparison with other trucks, but
Just so you know, I'm on a task force working with Hui to make sure that their new construction is not bringing all those trucks either. They're trying to make sure that they're going to be doing their removal of debris by barge. So it isn't just trying to fight against Steamship Authority. It's trying to maintain the small village nature from its traffic. It's not limited just to Steamship Authority in my view.
Yeah, well, we have the same traffic problems on the island, and that's why we're trying to work together as a group. Those
Right.
trucks enter our island that leave Woods Hole. And I just want, I'll say it again, is just work together and not against us.
All right, I'm going to interject and try to go on to the next item on the agenda, which is the emails received at Woods Hole Traffic website. If you don't mind, we have received, I think, fewer this last month than the other months. And one of the issues that you'll see is this is the first one we received. We have 25 pages of these. These include the responses that we gave them. We tried to do that as much. Allison tries to do that as much as she can. She missed this one and she's only responded today. And so there's another exchange with Damien Cutler on this. And he was specifically referring to a bus that he followed up Woods Hole Road that was exceeding the speed limit. Allison did check that today, and the bus was did exceed the speed limit, and the driver will be talked to. And that is the essential part of this exchange, I think, that people are.
I know it went on from there, got a little more.
No, but I think the essential part of this exchange of what we're trying to do here is that when people do report that one of our shuttle buses is speeding, and this is a mitigation measure that I hope we can all agree on, that we do not want our shuttle buses speeding down Woods Hole Road at these places. So we want to encourage them to report it. We do have a system in place that allows us to track the speeds of our buses, and Allison worked with that with Mike Young, our parking lot manager. We did determine in this case that that bus was speeding, at least at certain locations on Woods Hole Road, and that driver is being talked to. We have had other instances where the speed limits have been exceeded by a few miles. We are still telling our bus drivers, don't exceed this limit even by a few miles. And that's stripping down the bare essentials here, and that's what we're doing. This is another tool that we can use in order to decrease the speed of our shuttle buses on Woods Hole Road and Palmer Avenue. So this was included in the package I sent out, so you've seen this letter.
I think it also does the second thing of showing the Steamship Authority responsive to the concern, so I appreciate that.
Okay, we're trying. This has been a difficult year for everybody. And thank you, Doug. So Roberta Brooks, I will say, is one of the more vigilant neighbors, and she does report these. The nice thing is all of our shuttle buses, I have numbers on them. And so if someone comes in with the specific time and the bus number and the direction, we can check it out. She was traveling the same speed, and it was either 3 or 43. And Allison was able to do it, and she checked both numbers, and they were traveling the speed limit. And I can't explain why people get different readings. I know that Mr. Damien had asked that we see if our things are calibrated, and maybe that's something we'll do in the future.
Well, it's done by the satellite program, so.
Okay. Again, Roberta Brooks on September 10th looked at another bus 41, 25-mile-per-hour zone on Palmer Avenue. That is where we are looking at what the actual speed limits are on Palmer Avenue. That was why I was interested with Peter talking about the different speed limits on that road in each direction. That may be
May I interject real quick, Steve?
always.
I was driving down to Woods Hole the other day, and I did notice where you and I had spoken about where it's 25 on Palmer Avenue. Went around the curve onto Locust Street. Once it's straightened out, there's actually a speed limit for 35 miles an hour.
Okay.
And then it continues on, and then there's another one at Greengate for 35 miles an hour. So,
Okay, all right. So we're making certain that we have the right speed limits in place, that we know what they are when checking all of those. Oops. And this is another one from Roberta. I think I may have backed up once, so I'm sorry. And this is one that is upsetting to all of us. This is from Pam Stark. And this is where we have people. This one involved a tanker truck that was loaded onto a truck off of the Woods Hole terminal. And we do not encourage that, or we actually don't condone that. We actually try to get them to do it at the Palmer Avenue lot. Allison, if you can talk a little bit more about that situation.
right, and that one in particular, the truck, the tow truck never physically came onto steamship property. It was like it knew to go there right off the bat. I'm not sure who informed them that's where they should go, but that's where they went. One of our employees did try to tell them to leave. Obviously, they didn't listen. The truck that it was picking up drove off the boat under its own power, went up Lomscombe and the one-way street there, went up and then went over to the bridge and got thrown onto the tow truck and they left. We have reached out to who the reservation was under and asked them, you know, to, if they were gonna have it delivered that way, to not to have it delivered onto the property, that to have it done at Palmer.
And Bob Davis did respond to Pam's email. And this does happen when people do transport their cars to Florida for the winter and back. And I think, as Bob mentioned, they're looking into placing advertisements in the island newspapers, informing customers that pickups and drop-offs of those types should take place at the Palmer Avenue lot. And we're doing that. And that is the standard message that our reservation clerks are instructed to send people when customers inquire about dropping off vehicles on the mainland from the vineyard. That we tell them they should go to Palmer Avenue and have their vehicles picked up there. And Pam also wrote to Julian Suzo, and Julian responded to. Oh no, this is a different one. This is one that has aggravated us, and hopefully we're getting a better handle on that with respect to the elimination of standby in Woods Hole for the summer. This is one, another instance that Pam encountered where there was a backup at the Woods Hole terminal, and a trucker got out of line, went on the opposite lane of traffic, and went into the terminal. And then Pam was upset, and they engaged each other, and the truck driver acted inappropriately. I don't know. Pam did respond. Bob did respond ultimately, and apologized. We also followed up with a freight shipper to make certain that the driver.
I spoke to the driver myself.
Okay.
I knew who the driver was, so I spoke with him myself. And of course,
We have.
One of the problems with that is where the trucks park over on that left-hand side, they have to cross traffic, and they usually get out of line to get over there quicker so they don't block up traffic. You're talking about 4 spaces. If they get over and park out of the way, that's what they're trying to do.
Correct. We realized that the truck driver had that as the purpose, but regardless, we don't want them pulling up into the opposite lane of traffic anywhere on that Crane Street Bridge or coming down until they are actually going to get into the parking space by the lot. That's a dangerous situation. The cars could be coming up from Cowdery Road and Crane Street, and that they should stop that. I mean, if you can get that out to the other truck drivers, that would be great, Steve.
No problem.
they should just wait. And even Pam, I think, said that's what the truck driver did. He was just trying to reduce the traffic backup by going over there early.
Right.
And we understand that, but our position is that they should stay in line until the last minute when they're over there, able to go over there safely without the potential of a car coming in the opposite direction. And I think Bob is maybe also following up with the town, looking signage and well as flexible traffic cones along the double yellow line there to see if we can, or other measures we can take. But I forgot to,
Sorry, could Peter or Jim, could they comment on that? Because I wasn't aware the town was doing anything
I don't know
related
whether they
to
have yet.
preventing crossing. I mean, it definitely seems like a structural issue there. This is one of the more common topics we're getting in incoming email. People crossing. I mean, this happened already at the bridge, it looks like.
Correct. Peter or Jim, are you still there?
Yeah, this is not something that I've heard of. I don't know if the traffic advisory might have heard something. It's not something that I've heard of. I don't know where the emails are going to.
Okay.
Or have I.
Okay, we'll follow up on it to see what the conversation may be between the Steamship Authority and the town.
Basically crossing a double lines.
Yep.
Median.
Right, and I think we brought up the idea of the flexible traffic cones before. I don't know whether that's state highway, so that's not something for the town as much as it is for MassDOT. Even the bridge itself is state highway.
Well, a large part of Crane Street is private, or is the town soon.
Yeah, as well.
But one other thing, Steve, you mentioned what's happening. I haven't heard any decisions about standby being widened for next summer.
Yeah, it's the board
Okay.
meeting.
I think at this situation, I don't think it's going to be up for consideration at tomorrow's Steamship Authority meeting. I think the staff has looked at it, and I think the staff it's going to be an issue discussed at probably the October, November meeting when they talk about the reservation dates, openings and things along that line, because it's naturally involved, is included in that subject. I think the staff would like to have reservation only days, certainly for the Friday, Saturday, Sunday, Monday, for the entire summer schedule next year, beginning in mid-May until mid-October. And also is looking at the possibility of having reservation only days 7 days a week during that time period. But they're looking at the logistical issues of staffing for all that time. And also it would have to involve probably a reallocation of spaces on the boats in order to do that. So to ensure that island residents have more spaces on the boats to do it on reservation only days without standby. Looking into that, and personally, for all the reasons we've talked about here, I would love to be able to go 7 days a week, reservation only day on the Martha's Vineyard route for the entire summer schedule. I know that that is what they would like to do to solve this problem. They're looking at whether that's possible and what the consequences are. It's just there are other considerations on that they have to do, and being retired, I don't have to worry about those things anymore. So. Okay. Another one from Roberta Books about the bike path. And I think Allison and I were talking, and this was one where a bus driver was going a few miles per hour over the speed limit, and we'll be reminding him. I think Allison will be meeting with Roberta at some point to go and look at the areas.
Yeah, I'm gonna reach out to her shortly to kind of solidify a date so we can meet and, have a nice chat.
Okay. This one is, it was copied to us, but it has to do more with the situation on Woods Hole Road near the home of Aristia Ninos, where there's grates on Woods Hole Road that make a lot of noise when trucks go over. And that's something that the town has referred her to Mass Highway. But it came in Woods Hole traffic, so I thought I would include that in the letters to you.
And are you going to do something about that or?
No, I think Julian referred her to someone at Mass Highway to look into that. Because it's a situation where there are grates in front of her home as part of Woods Hole Road. So when the trucks go over the grates, they make a lot of banging.
Yeah, I think,
Storm drains?
yeah, I think we heard something about that, and we gave her the information to Mass DOT. When this happens, when you have the grates, we go out and check it first to make sure that it's not us. I mean, if it's water or sewer, it would be us, but it was storm drain, so it was state. So we gave her the appropriate person at the state.
Okay, great. Thank you, Peter. Okay, this was an earlier one that she had sent us. It was part of the email string. Someone did, maybe Allison, you can do this. Danny, I think that's how it's pronounced, Kincaid, sent 2 emails. This is the first of 2. On September 19th, a black cab, flatbed truck with what appeared to be construction or passenger vehicles used Jake brakes for several hundred yards. Still managed to speed through the intersection southbound at a high rate of speed.
Yeah, unfortunately, looking at the surrounding trips both to and from the island around that time, I could not identify who would be having a black cab. So it was one of those things that there's a few shippers that do have black cabs, but they weren't on any boats surrounding that time period. So it's hard for me to figure out who it was. It might have been someone getting deliveries from Mitigation. I know sometimes some of their trucks are darker color as well. So, but it was nothing I could.
But you were still down there and you talked to all.
But we did reach out to shippers, yes.
Yeah, when you were at the terminal, you just talked to them directly.
Yep.
The next one was one where August 5th, although it was sent September 21st, a white delivery truck with company name Our Cardi Food sped through the intersection southbound at a high rate of speed, and as they were waiting to pass at the intersection. Allison looked at that, and we did not have a customer by that name.
Cardi Foods doesn't come to the island.
Okay, so that was a Woods Hole issue. If all could be so easy. And finally, this is the one which reinforces somewhat how the problem with standby, even on weekdays. Catherine Bumpus sent an email showing a photograph of about 12:30 Thursday, September 23rd, and a line of cars going over Woods Hole Road waiting to get into the Woods Hole terminal. And that shows the problem with only having reservation only days on Fridays, Saturdays, Sundays, and Mondays, because then on Thursdays, things start to back up as island residents try to use the standby. That is embarrassing to have a Steamship Authority maintenance truck sitting across the road. I wish you can't tell the photograph that the line of cars was moving, but I can't say that. But Bob, I believe, Bob Davis has talked to the maintenance department about that issue.
Yeah, Steve, I'll just add it. So it's not even on weekdays. The problem is on weekdays because that's what's unregulated, or that's when you're allowing standby.
That's correct.
Tuesday through Thursday, yeah.
Right. That's why I personally am in favor of having reservation only days, 7 days a week during the summer, because it only pushes the problem into the weekdays.
I see.
Okay. And that was the last one. So we're back. Doug Jones said he had to leave in a few minutes, and he has now left. NAPS. The next one is Nat's emails, which no one here has seen except for Nat and Allison and I.
No, I think they went out on the notice.
Not yours. I can't. I would violate the open meeting law. You would get me in
Oh,
trouble.
not the letters themselves, right? The agenda items.
You wouldn't get me in trouble. I would get myself in trouble. He was wondering whether it's a septic truck or a truck that passed 2 minutes ago above Little Harbor going north, and it's allowed. When will the SSA at last issue publicly a request for proposals for off-Cape barging of trash demolition materials septic? So I don't know whether,
You know,
okay.
I will
Allison,
just editorialize. Trash is a huge, I mean, that is the number one.
right. I would just like to say I'm gratified that your email was at 8:50 in the morning. And so because
Yeah, you're not
earlier-
sending trash. I mean, I don't think that first trash is until, when is it, Allison? It's not
It
crazy early.
varies. on
Well, see, my memory of our discussion is that we talked about this with Greg Carroll, because he has 2 trips on which he has trucks coming off island in the morning. And because the noises of the trucks differ with the age of the cab, that he actually has taken the trouble to put his newer trucks, try to put his newer trucks on the earlier trips, which get in maybe, but they could be on the 5:30 from Vineyard Haven and get in at 6:15. And this would be the second trip of the day for him, because I know he has to get down before it closes.
Is it possible this could have been a trash truck for Woods Hole?
I don't know.
We
The
don't know.
trash truck usually doesn't run until 6:30. The first trash truck leaving the island usually is 6:30.
Okay, so that would be 6:30, 7:15. So this would be the second trip.
But we don't know whether this came off the boat, right?
We don't know, and Allison wasn't able to figure that out.
Right.
At that
So
point.
I think, let's go on to the next one.
Okay. Someone else has been taking decibel readings, and so Nat forwarded that to Woods Hole Traffic.
Where are they taking the decibel readings at? If you're gonna take them right on the street, that's gonna be the loudest noise, no matter what. You're gonna get the road noise. If it's where Nat lives down at his house, I think you're gonna get a different reading from being up on the corner.
Right.
Yeah, this
We don't know
was-
where these are.
This was a neighbor. This is in the vicinity of the inn, I think, of the Sands of Time.
Okay.
But is it right on the road?
I don't know. Does he say?
No, he doesn't.
Yeah.
Sorry. So we don't know that. And then Allison asked what kind of sound equipment was being used. And Nat says he didn't trust any of the phone apps. None of them.
Well, I don't, and we've tried them all. I mean, I'm going to convince Peter and Jim and others the town has got to go in for some noise monitoring. Otherwise, it's huge. You know, they said, we said.
Right, but again, I want to stress what I think our mission is. Our mission is not to measure with precision the decibel levels of vehicles. Our mission is that if we can get that decibel level, whatever it is, lowered, that is a success. And the measures that we have been talking about, hopefully with those electronic feedback signs, working with Greg Carroll to get the quieter trucks, or the less noisy trucks, I should say, earlier in the morning and the other ones later in the morning. Those are the types of things that we can do here as a working group, and we've made some efforts and we had some successes in that regard. So.
Yeah, maybe, I don't know if this is the moment. I just wish we could go for some bailing equipment. I would chip in for some.
But we
When I
have
see
talked
the
about
amount
this.
of money being spent on Woods Hole Terminal and think how many bailing pieces of equipment would solve your trash problem.
Okay,
Yeah.
that's a sore subject. Yeah, you know how to hurt people. I've been paying for that one. But again, Nat would like to know the number of septic trucks and trends with trash trucks. And Allison has asked him to talk to Sean Driscoll for the information. I think you have since done that, Nat?
Well, it takes 14 days. I haven't heard back yet.
Okay. I mean,
I did prompt Sean, so he knew prior to you sending your email that you'd be requesting this.
Great.
He was aware that it was.
I would, I mean, I think we want to watch that trend. I
Okay.
think of it as being how many trucks a day? 6 or 7? Does that sound right? Or is that too many, Allison?
It depends on what they're hauling on the days and the time of year. Obviously, it's gonna be more during the summer than the winter. And then summer, I mean, spring and fall is gonna be more demo than more building. It all depends.
Mix changes, yeah. Just seems such a waste of everyone's resource, your space on the boats.
and those are the long range issues that we are working on. So in the meantime, this group is doing what it can, I hope. And this is the last one we received from that. It came in on Saturday with 2 more trash trucks.
Some of those trucks are just like violently loud. It's just amazing.
Okay. But that's the issue there.
Now, are they violently loud going down the whole road, or are they just coming out of Woods Hole where they're powering up to get up the hill?
I think that's got to be part of it. The powering, they're heavy, leaking sometimes, as you know. It's just a shame for everyone.
Leaking what?
I assume it's wastewater, water that runs out of the garbage. I think any steamship employee will attest to having seen that down. I mean, we've all seen that.
Okay, I haven't heard that, but that's I'm not disputing that. I'm just
Not everyone leaks, but that's part of the whole problem.
All right.
If it rains the night before and if there's water inside,
Hmm.
it sloshes out is what he's trying to say.
All right, going to 3D. The steamship authority's efforts to reduce traffic backups due to vehicles waiting to check into the Woods Hole terminal. I think we've already discussed that. Hopefully the extension of this reservation only days through Columbus Day. We haven't heard of any backup problems on a reservation only day since then, I believe. The only times we've had the backup problems have been on standby days.
And it's been very few and far between from what I understand as well.
Right, and Doug Jones said the solution to that problem is to have reservation only days, and we are moving in that direction. So I hope that's an improvement.
I think some of the problem with that is the terminal over at the steamship. They had a lot of new people that have worked the corner, so it takes them a little bit longer to check a car in, check a truck in, because it seemed like we're getting new people once every couple of weeks. So, the training period and checking in, I think that's probably what slowed things up.
Yeah, the turnover has been huge this year. And staffing has been a huge issue, and getting staff. It's been a difficult year all around on that aspect of it, so.
Okay. All right, the steamship authority's visits to its Woods Hole's neighbors and problem noise areas along Woods Hole Road. Over to you, Allison.
Yep, I've gone out a few times and stood in various locations, watching the traffic. With my sound monitoring app that Nat says isn't good, but that's all right. I mean, it's still giving me at least some numbers to go by. It's not leaving me out in the blind going, is this loud? Is this not loud? And everything seems to be within the 70s and 80s. Oddly enough, the trolleys are some of the loudest things that go down Woods Hole Road, because those things are just jalopies, to be honest with you. It doesn't help that unfortunately I get recognized, so trucks will blow their horns, and that does not help the situation. So do not do that first thing in the morning, because I don't think anybody would appreciate that. So.
I thought you were going to say they slam on the brakes when they see
No,
you.
they'll just blow their horn.
At that point, they're going up the hill, so.
Well, it depends. Or through the traffic lights, because I've been at the Quistit lights and I've been in different locations on Woods Hole Road, so. And I bring, sometimes our health and safety officer, Angela Sampson, will come with me. She has a completely different app on her phone that she'll use, and we'll compare the numbers, and they're usually pretty accurate between the two of us, like similar, I should say, so.
Although you remember, Allison, the day we stood there with completely different readings on our two apps.
Yep. Yours were higher than mine, and you had the fancier one.
Oh, I thought Nat's were lower than yours.
No, mine were lower ones, his were the higher ones.
Okay.
Well, I would just add, 80
Yeah.
decibels isn't anything to write home about, right? I mean, that's pretty loud.
Okay, number 4, additional items requested by Nat. Some of these we've already gone over. The incident with the neighbor on September 13th, and that was Pam Stark's incident. We've talked about that. We have revised our freight shippers letter to tell people not to cross into the oncoming lane, even if there's a long line of traffic there, and even if the long line of traffic extends beyond the Crane Street Bridge. And Allison has talked with the driver himself, I believe. Yes, you did. Yes, you did. Okay. And then I'll follow up with what Bob had suggested about putting the cones on the bridge and see whether that's going forward with MassDOT or with the town, or how that's going. B is the Steamship Authority's decision on eliminating standby on Tuesday through Thursday next summer. We've talked about that, I believe, Nat.
Well, we'll see if that, I'd like to see that come to fruition. I don't know. The Vineyarders are probably not in support of this, I would only guess.
We don't really know yet. I mean, that's something where when it may be mentioned tomorrow, and we'll find out over the course of the next few weeks. But that's, as when you're in a government agency, there are lots of considerations that you have to balance, especially when you have different communities involved. So, but as I mentioned, the staff is pretty much recommending the extension of the reservation only days, Fridays through Mondays, for the entire summer schedule next year. That seems to have worked out very well already now. And the only question is whether we can also do that on Mondays, Tuesdays through Thursdays. And they're looking into that. Further investigation of the impact of the blue line. And I don't know what more there is. I know that Allison has looked into this again just to confirm that what we talked about the last few times has been accurate. And Allison, has it been accurate?
Yeah, I mean, it's always been 14 per day. It's also at the agent's discretion if we stop using them. Usually the only time that will ever happen is if we have weather and or mechanical issues. But it's also up to the agent's discretion if they do more than 15. And that depends on how the day is going and how vehicles are moving. And a lot of the times we do increase from 15. It's very rarely is it just 15 a day. It almost becomes 15 for the morning shift and 15 for the afternoon shift is how it usually ends up working out. Because a lot of times by 7 o'clock in the morning, all 15 of those spots could be gone. So it's like I said, it is up to the agent's discretion. And a lot of times it's usually at least two chunks of 15, one in the morning and one in the afternoon.
And the concern there is if there are traffic issues brought up by island residents trying to get into the blue line and not being able to get in there and then being turned back and increasing traffic. But Allison has said that very few island residents try to go on the blue line during the reservation only days because they know that even if they get in the blue line, they will have to be normally wait for hours in order to get across.
Well, plus you also have to surrender your reservation. If you don't happen to have an open ticket and you do have a reservation, you need to surrender that reservation. So in theory, you could still miss your reservation if you're trying to go over earlier. So it's one of those things that they need to weigh in, weigh in the factors as well, so.
So we still believe that blue line does not exacerbate any traffic problems on reservation only days. We
No.
also think it is an essential component for having reservation only days for island residents who, because for whatever reason, they have not been able to make reservations in advance, have some way of getting back and forth. So that's where we are. on that one.
Well, I don't want to beat a dead horse here. I just, when I hear Bob Davis refer to the blue line as the quasi standby, and then I think back to that, that very long backup to the dome.
That was
And
not on a reservation only day,
That was on a standby day.
on a standby day.
There's a difference.
okay, but the blue line is every day, right? So I mean, I'm just thinking-
No, the blue line is only reservation only.
oh, it is.
day.
I see. Okay,
It's only reservation only day.
okay, and I got very good. Thank you.
That's the trade-off, reservation only, blue line for the island residents. Our transport trucks problems in Woods Hole, we've talked about that. We're trying to encourage, get more communications to the customers, to tell them to meet their transport vehicles in Palmer Avenue. And we do make that available for this purpose. Update on technology for ticketing of trucks without drivers. We mentioned this before. The issue is the type of computer that's used for the purposes they have to check in. That doesn't go to the check-in booth, but that's something on the list for when the terminal is reconfigured. That we hope to have the both computer systems or maybe a combined system available not only in the ticket office, but also in the check-in booth. So that if truck drivers don't want to go into the terminal building, they won't have to. But the things that they have to process at that time, signing authorizations for charge accounts so that they can actually get across, maybe changing the length of their vehicles. At the moment, they still have to be done in the ticket office. Hopefully those will be done in the future in the check-in booth as well. But truck drivers, as Steve has pointed out, will often want to go in anyway just to use the restroom.
I don't understand what that has to do with traffic, since usually the truck's already parked when they go into the ticket office.
The issue that Nat has brought up is that it requires them to show up earlier than otherwise necessary. And so that really is the focus for the early morning trips as much, because after the early morning, it doesn't matter whether they show up a few minutes earlier or not. It's really the first few trips of the morning, I think.
I mean, it's your business. I would think fewer trucks at any given moment on the terminal is better anyway, and
Okay.
fewer trucks that are arriving earlier. I don't know, Steve, maybe you see that otherwise, but
I think the problem is from one day to the next, you don't know what you're going to have for business, what you're going to have for trucking, what you're going to have for freight, what you're going to have for trash, what you're going to have for
Oh, you mean-
wastewater. It's you make these reservations in advance, but things could change drastically in 2 hours in the trucking division. It could be changed in 12 hours. You are basically looking into a crystal ball and saying, okay, this is what I'm projecting, but I don't know exactly what's going to happen. So a guy coming down, a couple minutes early, I understand it's bothersome, but when you're putting in, 200-300 miles, 2 minutes, either way, it's tough. It's if you get traffic or if you don't get traffic. There's so many different variables. It's not like a, open and closed case.
Okay, but in any event, we're gonna have more options in a few years when the terminal building is reconfigured. Update on number of trash demolition recycling trucks carried daily by the SSA. That is something that Nat has asked Sean Driscoll as a public records request. And we don't have that information today. G, proposed use of the Palmer Avenue lot property for a truck staging and waiting area. At 5:28, that may be a little late to get started into. Why do Nat, is it all right to put that on the agenda for the next meeting?
yep, very good.
Okay, I mean, I'm just being practical, I hope. But no, but that's something, and maybe before the next meeting, we can discuss it as a staff to see what we think about it. Because I think this is a new subject. It's brought up every now and then, but not as an agenda item. So why don't I ask Allison if she can have the staff look at that? And then we can all discuss it at the next meeting.
It reminds me of what you're doing already in Hyannis to some extent, maybe,
Okay,
possibly.
That's a little different over there.
Okay,
but we'll look at that. I mean, if we're doing something like that there, we'll look at that.
He's thinking of the driver services and the off-site lot that we go and put vehicles when the drivers aren't there.
Gotcha. Okay.
So
Request for noise mod, we've already taken care of the request for noise monitoring. May I skip that, Nat? We've already talked about that.
Yes, the town, yeah, you're not going to do it from what I hear.
Correct. Yes, okay. All right. Doug is not here. Why don't I later on send out proposed dates so that Doug can also do it? It would be, we could all agree on a date and Doug may not do it, and that way I'll get everyone's responses at the same time. But generally, Wednesdays at 4 o'clock are good, except for, I know the first and third Wednesdays, John has the Dukes County Commissioners meetings. And so we're looking at that. And the summer is over. Hopefully we'll get through and it'll be after Columbus Day and we'll have some more time after this. Is there anything else? I'll ask if any of the attendees have any comments, like public input. I'm at least remembering to do this aspect of the meeting this time. I often forget that.
I have a question for Nat, may I ask? Nat, every one of them trucks that you see going up the road are paying excise tax, they're paying fuel tax, they're paying for the roads. Is your car registered in Connecticut where you don't even pay excise to the state of Massachusetts? Is that fair to us?
Let me think about that, Steve. That seemed like that was a lot of questions for me to think about at 5:30.
It's just one question. We pay all these
Well, I
trucks.
certainly pay taxes in Falmouth. That's one of the questions.
That's not the question I asked you. I asked you, is your car registered in Connecticut where you don't pay excise tax?
Well, the reason I think this is more complicated is we also think about the cost of diesel soot,
Okay.
air
Let me
pollution,
defer. That's something
brake pad.
unanticipated by
debris.
the chair, as they say. So let's defer that issue. Let's not gonna, because we could get started on the whole thing. So I don't see any comments from any of the attendees. I'm gonna thank everyone, especially Peter and Jim, for being here today. Thank you again. And Peter, I may be following up with you afterwards about the Crane Street Bridge and see about that as well, after I talk with Bob Davis and Allison and I to confer. Thank you everyone for your time. Can I entertain a motion to adjourn?
So
I
moved.
motion to adjourn.
Okay.
Second.
All right, Mr. Arujo,
Arujo, yes.
Mr. Cahill,
Cahill, yes.
Mr. Jones is gone, Mr. Morrow,
Morrow, yes.
and Mr. Trumbull.
Yes.
Okay, thank you all.
Thank you, Steve.
Thanks,
Have a
everyone.
great Columbus Day.
Thank you, you
Steve.
too.
Thank you.
Take care.
Take care.